Happy Monday.
How's everybody doing?
So are you in your new house now?
Yes, in the new house. Still getting settled, but in the new house.
I see you have a blue screen behind you.
Yes, it's just a big blue screen. That's all it is. Some lights.
I bought myself a green screen. Well, I bought myself some green fabric, which I'm going to ask somebody to make a green screen for me.
This is actually a blue screen, and then there's a green screen on the other side. It's essentially one of those, like collapsible reflectors. So
we've had a lot of fun with those in our office, trying to fold them back up again.
I'll ruin the mystique, but you can see it's just a big.
Okay, so let's start off with our stats, Monday morning market stats. Let's add them to the stream here. So we get a report every Monday. We were hoping to get a full report, but they're not done yet, analyzing what happened in depth for last month, October 2020. So over the past, I have two sets of stats, so we'll just go over the last week first. So new listings, 245, which I think is high.
Do you find, though, a lot of people have their listings canceling at the end of the month and then they relist?
I don't do that. Do you do that?
I noticed that agents do that. They write their listing contracts to sometimes end at the end of the month.
Weird.
Yeah.
Pendings 216, which is high for 1 week.
Absolutely. It's huge.
Price decreases up, similar to what it's been in the past few weeks. Do you find that looking at these stats, you begin to see patterns?
Haven't seen enough of them yet.
Okay, 76. And then price increase 6, which is, we talked about, probably clerical error. Sold, that number does not surprise me because I do know lots of agents do tie in closings with end of month, and move-ins would have happened October 31st.
Right. And the expireds at 89, that kind of reflects what I'm talking about as well, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have the choice when you end a listing, you can expire it or you can cancel it. And they have different consequences on your contract, actually. So, okay, we do have for this past month summary. So 990 unconditional sales compared to 619 for last year.
Crazy.
So that is crazy. So we're up about 50% over last year. New listings, 1,162 compared to 918, so also up.
Yep.
But total number of active listings, we're still down at 2,122 compared to 2,643 last year.
So if you're talking to someone, Jane, and they're interviewing you about a listing their property, and they're wondering about timing, would you recommend that they wait till spring, or would you suggest that they go now?
So it's funny you say that because I've been thinking about that. Wrong thing. I am telling people I don't know what the market's going to be like next year. I only know what it's going to be like now.
Yep.
We're in the middle of a freaking pandemic.
We are. And we don't know. I mean, we don't know if things are going to really close down. We don't know if they're going to open up because there's a miracle cure. We don't know what the spring brings. And traditionally, I tell my clients around this time of year, we're starting to phase out, and the only people really listing are people who are desperate to sell. But there's also, there's less buyers out there, but of course there's less sellers. You can still be, competitive, but all that's out the window now. And I'm encouraging people that I'm talking to list now, because we don't know what's going to happen in the spring. We don't know if prices are going to go up or down. There's a very good chance they may go down. There's also a very good chance they may skyrocket up. But as I tell my buyers, I'm telling sellers, I tell my buyers, if you can afford to buy now, buy. I'm telling my sellers, right now, you could sell just about anything if you put a for sale sign out on the front lawn. And not all markets are like that. So if you have
Depends
something
on price, Andrew. I still think you need to be very careful on price.
true, but a property that, let's say in a normal market, let's say it's a busy road and needs some updates and there's a lot of strikes against it. If you have the right price, and still it's a better price than in some other markets, you're going to sell that property versus in a slower market where there's a lot of choice. It doesn't matter what that price is, almost people are going to be choosing other options.
Yeah. Well, if you're on a busy road, it's definitely a better time to sell, but I do think you do have to be price sensitive right now.
Yeah.
At any market. And that means like you could be $10,000 off. Just look at what else is on the market and price your house accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I get calls from family members, my family members who live across the country, asking me about a house price in their area, which I'm not familiar with. And so I can only say, here's strategy.
Right.
Talk to your realtor, get the comparable, see where the gap is, price your house in the gap.
Yeah. 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 You want your house to be equal or better condition to other properties that are in the same price point as you.
Yeah.
And if you're not seen as being relatively comparable, then the buyers are going to look at it and say that those people are out to lunch, and they'll go. And so many people say, oh, well, let's just list at this price and somebody can always negotiate price with me. But that logic doesn't work, because those people are going to negotiate price on the property that's already better priced.
Exactly.
So,
but
you hear what we're saying out there?
It's the old, my house is the castle.
Right. Yeah. I use high quality nails.
Yeah. It's funny. I used to be intimidated by high price housing and all of that. And then I realized, when I look at the way it's built, it's not built any differently. There may be a few add-ons, there may be high quality finishings, but it's one piece of wood at a time.
You're talking about the luxury market, and you were intimidated by that.
Initially.
As a newer agent, I was as well. Partly it was the houses and partly it was the clientele. Until, everyone's going through the same problems and has the same issues when they're selling a home. There may be a different layer of expectations, and the price point is certainly higher. So it's a funny thing in real estate, but you can do the same amount of work for a $2 million home or a $200,000 condo. Actually, and often the $200,000 condo is more work, but you get paid a lot more money because we're commission based for the $2 million home. And so there is some extra expectation, obviously, on that you're going to perform and you're going to market and so on and so forth. I have the same obligations to every client though. So I try to treat my business as I'm treating everyone, whatever the price point, equally. But I also recommend
it's a different type of marketing. So higher end marketing, they tend to want more what I call vanity press ads. Mm-hmm. Yeah. In magazines and stuff like that. And I remember my first listing like that. And we actually generated a lot of interest because we did special billboards outside the house, renovation projects and stuff like that. And then the release date, and we got multiple offers. I was so excited.
It's really fun seeing some of the creative marketing that our colleagues come up with, and also having the both the budget and the ability to come up with some really creative ideas for marketing our properties. And the higher the price point of, obviously we're looking at it's risk versus reward. We have a higher commission that we're looking to obtain from that as well, I guess. And so we have more of a budget to spend. But you're right, a lot of it's vanity, and some of it has a profound effect, and some of it has absolutely no effect except to impress the sellers, unfortunately. And it's really more about getting the home sold. Well,
yeah,
clients.
Exactly. And so I stopped advertising listings in the newspaper when they started selling before the ad came out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that being said, so what I focus on now, my marketing is about my clients, because they're whom I'm serving. And really, real estate, the job of real estate is counseling people through massive change.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's a transitional it's helping people through a transition, and there's so many different elements to that. It's incredible. So, and it's really satisfying. It's a lot of fun, but you're right. It's not what people think it is. It's not just marketing a home.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's talk about what we can do, what sellers can do to their homes to increase the value or speed up their sale, or just have a better and more smooth transaction.
Okay, so I went, and of course, you know me. I created this.
Yes.
Pardon?
You're a list person.
I'm a list person. I created this right away, right now, and
in the last 3 minutes while we were talking.
Yes. So these are the top 8 renovation tips that were recommended by Homes on Homes. I used to watch his show. And I grabbed these pics off the web. So number one, this one surprised me. And the ROI expected on this is actually 100% outdoor space. And I think this is a COVID issue.
When is that top 10 or top 8 list from? When was that published?
This spring.
Okay. I mean, sure. Yeah, very possibly COVID. I mean, I don't disagree. I've seen some really wonderful homes where one of the reasons they're wonderful is because you really do feel that you have this extra living area outdoors, this extra utility, this extra function, this extra lifestyle that you get from an outdoor space. And a small home can be made that much larger if you have a beautiful outdoor covered patio, or an outdoor kitchen, or just something you can say this is amazing lifestyle to live here.
Here, though, I find the maintenance of this outdoor space in Victoria would be a lot different than elsewhere, because we can be outside all year round. However, we do have rain and wind, especially in Vancouver Island and where I live. So I can't actually see myself having an umbrella like that where I live.
It would blow away. Yeah.
It would blow away. But that being said, I could put up a tent and have like a tent with open sides, more fixed type of gazebo type thing. And
sure, like a pergola, a nice wooden structure is great. Something that defines the outdoor space. Obviously, it can go away in the winter. If you're listing your home, we know most people list their homes in the spring. And, people, when they're looking at homes at that point, they're not thinking about the cold winters. They're looking at all the patio furniture and the barbecues they're going to host, and, all of that.
Yeah. So the ROI expected on this, they said, was 100%.
Now, was that for, like, what are they talking about? Are they talking about patio furniture? Are they talking about, decks? What is their, give me the Coles note.
I think it's 2 aspects. To me, it is staging your outdoor area with plants, as well as first impression, your curbside impression as you drive up to the house. This would be a major thing. And then just enjoying the outdoors. And I've noticed when I'm showing homes that have outdoor spaces defined like this, people definitely find it more appealing, and they ask for the furniture with the house.
Yeah. True. Yeah.
Okay, let's go to number 2. Full bathroom remodel. This to me is not a surprise.
No, not at all.
So, to me, this is 100% ROI as well, because this is a space people is a getaway space. It's
a little oasis.
What?
It's a little oasis from the chaos of the kids or the partners or the cats.
Yeah. Exactly.
And again, it goes to setting the scene. Sometimes I've gone into a bathroom, whether it's remodeled or not, but maybe there's a nice big tub and it's got one of those little tub organizers, and there's, you can see that someone could sit in the bathtub, read a book, have a glass of wine or what have you. And it just feels Great. And it's so much tactile as well, Jane, like walking into a bathroom with heated floors and everyone starts going, ooh, after walking through, a colder area of the home, this is just impressive. And it makes an impression on people.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I don't know if I give it 100%, but I would say it's pretty high up there.
I would say it's pretty up.
Yeah.
It's easy to do too. Like you can get a new vanity. You can spend less than $1,000 to make your bathroom look a lot better. Even the mirrors, light fixtures.
Yep.
Bless you.
That came on me quick.
Okay, number 3, replacing windows.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I notice like in Victoria, when I talk to home inspector, they say it's not as big a deal as it is elsewhere in the country.
No, but if you're working with people from elsewhere in the country, it's a big deal to them. And we have a lot of homes with single pane windows, heritage designated homes, and so forth. But new windows really do up the look of a place as well. And it just feels a little more comfortable.
Yeah. Well, I've been looking at replacing my windows in my house. And for 4 windows, large size, putting vinyl in was $10,000.
Okay.
That seemed really expensive to me.
That seems like a lot of money. Yeah.
They're big windows.
Okay. Yeah, it does. It seems like a lot of money, but if they're big windows, what is that? $2,500 per window? Yeah,
and part of we're talking 10 by 5 for one window. So that's extraordinary.
Yeah. It's a lot of glass.
I think this also speaks to the first impressions, because windows are things that you see, and literally, like they're your window to the world, and so they're important.
And the vinyl windows, they don't they don't get the same they don't get the condensation that the older aluminum windows do, and so they don't get the grit and dirt in the same kind of accumulation down in the bottoms, and they're easier to clean, and they just have a much better feel to them. So there is that, but I wouldn't recommend generally to someone who has, let's say, windows from the 90s to replace with brand new windows, unless maybe they've started to fail or somewhat, not from a functional standpoint. And what do you think, Jane, of replacing just some windows? Let's say there's a house and you replace the main windows that are visible as you enter the home, see from the front, but maybe not the basement windows, or what have you.
They better match.
Right.
So we did all the windows in our house, and our builder forgot to replace one window.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I was so irritated. To me, it's a jarring look when one doesn't match the other.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
So, and we have 1990s metal case windows, and we're going to have to get metal again because vinyl just would look weird. Vinyl is a lot thicker product than the metal. The metal is thinner at the sides, and so the profile is less, which is why I think they went with metal. And I think metal also fails more quickly. This is what the window guy told me last week, because the metal expands and contracts, and then the windows actually are always flowing, but they flow slowly, and the seal, when it goes, you get condensation between the two. And while it doesn't cause a functional problem, it does not look good. So
when you say windows are always flowing, I think that you're talking about, you see this with really, really old windows in the old heritage homes where there's, it almost looks like they've got some flow going down. Yeah. But I understand windows are actually, at least those older ones, my understanding is they're actually a liquid and not a solid. They're just like molasses, except really hard. They're liquid, but the amount of flow happens so slowly. It's quite fascinating, actually.
Yeah, there was a teacher in Toronto at North Toronto Collegiate who would measure the window in his classroom at the top and the bottom
Yeah.
every year. Okay,
Anyway, you learn something new every day, folks.
roof replacement. On the left is a roof we can see here on a regular basis because we have a moss problem in Victoria. If you don't take care of it, it will take care of your roof.
Where are the goats?
The roof in the middle is also typical here in heavy winds. You get some lifting. So this is often, if the moss is being left on, it'll lift up the corners of the shingles. Then when you go to fix it, this will happen. Also, my clients just bought a house where the roof looked like this, and it was because the roofer actually put asphalt shingle on top of wood shingle.
Yeah, that's not a good idea. And you do get sometimes multi-layers of roofs. You'll sometimes get, they'll pull off the wood shingle and then they'll put the, you need to have proper sheathing down below underneath. And there's all kinds of things that could be going on underneath that roof. So a new roof should be done properly you want to make sure it was done by a proper roofer as well. Some folks go up there and do the wrong thing.
Yeah, and this can also happen, actually, this curling happens if you don't have adequate ventilation in a roof. And so it heats up and the shingles actually curl.
Yeah, that goes back. If you do re-roof, it's always wise to have a look at the ventilation for the roof system and perhaps put in some extra vents and so forth. And make sure that, because a well-ventilated roof is going to be better for heat transfer, so you don't get super hot in the summer, and also to keep mold down. But so do you agree with this? For number 4 here, replacing your roof is going to be a good money, a good one for selling your home.
I do, actually. It's the first thing I look at when I look at a house from the street. And when I'm looking at a street in general, I actually look at all the roofs are on the street, because it shows me a bit, I don't know, this is my theory, I don't know if it's true, disposable income.
It shows you how the neighbors are all caring for their homes in general.
Yeah.
Okay. It's kind of like the saying, it's kind of like I've heard, if you go into a condo building, look at the cars parked in the parkade, and you'll get a sense of, the ownership mix in the building, and whether or not maybe they are going to be folks who can afford to, just like you're upkeeping your car, can they upkeep the roof and the systems in this building? So I get what you're saying there. I think roof replacement, I think that the thing with roofs is like a negative value, in a sense, where if you walk up to a home and it needs a new roof, the buyer will look at that and say, that's a big unknown, and I have to come up with this money out of pocket to replace the roof, very likely. I've already just scrimped and saved to come up with this down payment, perhaps. And so this is a big barrier to entry when I see a roof that, when this buyer sees a roof that is at the end of life. So things you can do, I would suggest that if you yourself are selling your home, but you can't afford to replace your roof, get a roof quote. It's often less money to replace than you think. And perhaps the new buyer will, who was thinking the roof would cost $15,000 and finds out it's only $8,000. That makes a bit of enough of a difference. Furthermore, if they're going to negotiate with you on price, it gives you a known number to work with. And lastly, you can the buyer could potentially have a purchase plus improvements mortgage.
Right. Or in one case, what I did was I actually negotiated the replacement of the roof that the seller was paying, and the buyer had the builder had a lien on the property, so that was paid off upon completion.
Right. So these are ways you can work through the problem of a roof needing replacement and help with the value of your home, so you don't end up taking a loss on the home, despite maybe the fact that it didn't get the maintenance it needed. But one way or another, whether you pay for you pay for it now or you pay for it later, if you're not going to do maintenance on a home.
I find always buyers overestimate the cost of the renovation. It's better to do it yourself. And some people say, well, the buyer's going to replace a carpet, or the buyer's going to choose their own color. Yeah, but you know what? The buyer's only going to be doing that because they see it needs to be done. So what you're putting a barrier in place for the buyer to offer. So you want to remove the barriers so that they can just make the decision. Yes. So recently I had a consult on a house, and the seller said, well, I heard that moss isn't bad for roofs in Victoria. Well, it's not bad if you have a little bit of moss, but it's when it gets out of control on the left side that you get this damage happening in the middle when you remove the moss. And
Yeah.
there's little granules on the roof. So you don't want to blow the roof. You don't want to pressure wash the roof. You just want to brush it.
We had a building. I had a client a few years ago now looking at a place out in Brentwood Bay, and made an offer, got it accepted. We went to building inspection time, and he went up on the roof, and it had just recently been re-roofed, and that was one of the benefits and bonuses that we were looking at. But I guess the seller had decided to go up there and clean the moss off, or whatever had gone up, whatever growth had been on there from recently, and did a power wash. And they removed a lot of the granules, and you could see like trails of where the pressure washer had just decimated these tiles and these roof tiles. And it was just, my client walked away from this purchase.
Yeah. It's $20,000.
Yeah. So don't pressure wash your roof. A little bit of moss isn't a bad thing, but at the same time, anything that gives a buyer pause or makes them make assumptions, you want to try your best to get removed. And a clean roof with no moss, and they're not expensive to have a professional come in and professionally demoss it, is going to be money well spent. So if you're not looking at replacing your roof, at least get it properly cleaned. That will make a huge difference in the impression that buyers have.
So, and the cost can be anywhere like $200 to $400.
Yeah, money well spent. I think that's a more than 100% return on investment there.
I agree. Next. Okay, I don't agree with this.
This one was contentious. We discussed this a little bit before the show.
So to me, if you're a Luddite, forget it. There are people who have issues even with power lines, so I can see them having issues with this much technology.
Well, remember what we went through with the power, the wireless power meters. So now you've got all kinds of radio waves going through the home, and there's going to be certain people that this will absolutely turn off as they walk into a home and see it is home tech. There's so much comfort and ease of use from having a high-tech home, but you've got to be someone who actually has already embraced it yourself.
So my husband bought us a Nest, and we had it for 3 years, and it was great. Like, we go away and we come back and we'd be at the airport, and we turn the heat on in the house. By the time we got back, which was 50 minutes from the airport, the house was warm. Sounds good, but then the Nest stopped working, and I think it was $300 to buy a new one. And he called them up and he goes, well, I think the warranty had just run out. He wanted a new one, and they said no. And they said, they last on average of 3 years. Meanwhile, we moved into a house that had a thermostat from 20 years ago that had been working perfectly. So it just goes to show you, like, sometimes technology is, to me, it's not an added bonus.
Well, okay. I mean, so I was just showing a property yesterday, and it had a wood fireplace, not even a stove, just a wood fireplace. And a lot of folks today are looking, they want a nice gas fireplace, or, there's electrics are all over the place. It's like a technology that's all trying to mirror or, rebuild what we got from a wood fireplace. And some people would say wood is, difficult to deal with. It's messy and this and that, but there's a certain romance in it. This person loved it. They were really happy to see a wood burning fireplace. But sometimes simple is best. And sometimes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I love some of the tech available out there, but not everybody does. And if it is going to be tech, it needs to be invisible and it needs to be seamless. And the one thing about tech is it keeps moving along, and it's expensive to install. It's yeah, certainly if something goes wrong, then you're troubleshooting and spending more time than maybe the ease that it gives you. And then, a year later or 6 months later, some new product has come out that blows it away and makes this one obsolete. So I love home tech, but it has to be easy for anyone to use. And, I think we're getting to a point where it's going to be all integrated into a home more seamlessly. But until that day, it could backfire on you if you install it in your home.
Well, even like for 10 years ago to now, when people were buying homes, or even 5 years ago, you would talk about the placement of the internet plug and the placement of the TV plug. And now that's no longer relevant.
When we first got in this business, I remember selling condos and walking through condos. And, if that condo had a flat screen TV in it on the wall, that condo was selling. Do you remember this? This was the flat screen technology, I think, was just really, it was more expensive at the time. And, condo spaces were small. And if you just, certainly a big box TV takes up a lot of space. But people would, I'll buy the place, include the TV.
Yeah, exactly.
So tech is interesting, and it is a value to some folks. It has to be the right tech.
And now we have an issue when you buy a home, whether or not the wall mount is included or not. Like, we have to be very specific about that. And if it's not included, are they going to fix it?
If they're going to remove it, you've got to. Okay, that's a whole other down another rabbit hole. But I just want to say about tech. One of the things I do like, one of the tech pieces I do like, is the doorway tech, where maybe you've got a key code to enter.
Oh yeah.
And so electric doorknobs and maybe Bluetooth enabled, so it recognizes you as you walk up to the door. The technology to be able to watch people come and go. I mean, I don't know if you want to spend some waste some time on the internet, go and watch the cam bloopers from people walking up to the doorsteps and tripping over things and falling down, or
in real estate, it's an issue when people are selling their home and they have that technology to see and hear, and they do when there's a showing. It's not. You have to warn your buyer, I think.
It's a little cringy. And just again, yesterday I was in a home and I pointed out to my clients as we were walking around, and they were saying, "I love this home. This is amazing. I really love this home." And I said, look up here. Look over there. See that eye over there with the flashing light? Yeah, we're being watched. So yeah, you have to
be watched now.
You have to assume it. Yeah.
Okay, number 6.
Although I don't assume it right now. Nobody's watching.
Insulation.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that's a broader piece, and that has to do with your home efficiency, and that. Yeah.
To me, this is not something that will get you 100% back, but if you're living in your house, it will. And also I wouldn't see insulating right against the roof either. You need a space for ventilation. But that being said, I think if you want to increase the comfort of living in your home, attic insulation is an easy and effective way to do that.
So I think what you're saying is, and this is something we've both experienced many times, is we go in and we recommend some changes to our clients to get their home ready for sale, and they do those changes and they say, "Why am I selling? I love my home again." But the other thing is that if you're going to do these things like attic insulation and so on and so forth, you increase the resale value of your home because you've made it a more comfortable and energy efficient home. And some of that is the stuff you don't always see under the hood, but we can include that in our listing notes or in our feature sheets and so forth. What it does, though, is it saves you money over time, makes your home more comfortable to live in, and a new buyer who is coming in will appreciate that when we can show them those kind of things.
And just so you know, when like when somebody buys new construction and we go to the meeting with the designers, or we're talking to people about the different options that they have in their house. One of the functions, one of my buyers recently said, well, why do you need to come to that meeting? I said, well, I'm going to tell you what not to spend money on. Like, do you really need that outlet in the soffit for your Christmas lights? Is that important to you? Is it going to show up in resale? Well, I can tell you as a buyer's agent, no, nobody's going to notice. But for your living, it is going to make a difference. So, I mean, they're going to be standard new construction R4 insulation in Canada, which is, good for the Arctic, but sometimes overkill here. But that being said, you're going to have a nice, warm home. So, okay, next. Whoops.
Oh, you let the cat out of the bag.
Okay, finishing your basement, totally. I always tell people, so I had clients who had a, what was it? Probably like 1,100 square foot condo. It was in Broadmead area, and they had an unfinished basement. And they're like, do I finish it? And the only thing that needed to be done, quite honestly, was carpet.
Oh, carpet. Okay.
Yeah. I'm like, yes. And they said, why? And I said, because all of a sudden on MLS, we go from 1,100 to 1,900 square foot of finished square footage. And that shows up, and that's price per square foot. Definitely a value there.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it should, technically it should be a similar quality finish to the rest of the home to be considered finished. But as long as it's livable area, it's considered finished, really.
Yeah. Well, you need a ceiling, a wall, a floor, usually a window, and a basic height of 6 feet.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Anything below 6 feet starts to feel pretty much like a crawl space. And a finished crawl space is not going to be really too helpful. But, it's still a place the kids can go and run and roam, and it feels a lot better than the bare walls and the concrete and the studs showing and the wiring and so forth. All that being said, make sure your perimeter drains are in great shape. Get them scoped. Make sure that there's no issues with your foundation, because once you finish your basement, if you get a flood later, there's a lot of remediation to do. So that would be the one piece of advice I would say is, if you're going to finish your basement, make sure it's a dry basement. Yeah.
Actually, I had a friend who she lived on Salt Spring. They live in a bungalow with a walkout basement, so it's built into the hill. And they've been having issues, and nobody's ever talked to her about her perimeter drains. I'm like, well, you're going to have hydronic pressure is going to be pushing water against your foundation. Just dig a ditch around. She's like, oh, okay. It doesn't actually it can be easy if you want it to be easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And number 8, kitchen remodel.
So, I would put that up with kitchens and baths. It's funny that this is number 8, but the bathroom was what, number 2?
Well, I think it's cost.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what they don't have on this list is just paint.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's a huge one. Just a refresh on paint and maybe some light fixtures goes such a long way to refreshing a home.
And pulls on door handles and stuff like that in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Changing those out. But so a kitchen remodel is interesting. I have clients that buy and renovate condos and resell, and they were always asking me what's the in color. And I deliberately picked a white kitchen because white's in right now.
It is. Yep. Clean, white, modern, just seems to be what everybody's looking for.
Yeah. Awesome. So
that was fun.
That was fun. I hope you guys learned something. By the way, talking about technology, let me remove that. If you're interested in hearing more about what we have to say, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. So we are on As He Said, She Said, They Said. Is there anything you want to talk about next week?
I didn't come prepared with a topic, so
I've got an idea.
yeah, great. Let's hear it. I hope I like it.
I think we should
I
talk
don't think
about
I have a choice.
the rhythm of real estate.
Yeah. Okay. The rhythm of the rhythm of the real estate market trends. Okay. Yeah. There's rhythms. That's great. That's a great topic. I got lots going on inside this little head of mine. Where that could go.
Awesome. Okay, and the full stats will be out next week, so we'll review those. And then we're gonna encourage people, if they do have questions they want answered with regard to real estate, Andrew and I are here for you. So please let us know.
Yeah. And always, post something in the chats if you're listening and are watching and you have a question or comment. Agree with us, disagree with us. Let's have some debate. Let's get going. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Jane. Always fun.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We'll see you next Monday at 10 a.m. We're going to be talking about the rhythm of real estate and doing an in-depth analysis of the stats from last month, so you see what's been going on for the whole year up to date. And now is the time to start getting your home ready. Andrew, you mentioned you had an article that you wrote.
Oh, yeah. So one of the things we didn't talk about in terms of value is, and there's an article on my blog on my website at andrewplank.com. If you just Google, like, would you replace your door in Andrew Plank? So Zillow did a report, and they were looking for things that increase property value. And one of the things they found was just replacing your front door can have a $6,000 US, because Zillow's a US company, $6,000 US return on investment for just replacing your front door. So this speaks to that whole impression as you're approaching the home, street appeal. If you're not replacing it, paint it, make it look new, get some new fixtures on it. There's nothing like coming up to a home, as an agent, having to fiddle with the locks. It's an old fixture or something, and it's not old vintage, it's just old ugly. There's a lot you can do to modernize your home. So they said $6,000 to replace your front door US. So that's money well spent, I would say. And that's definitely a lot more than 100% return on investment. That's probably, 1,200% return on investment. So,
so go to andrewplank.com.
andrewplank.com. Would you replace your door if it meant an extra $6,000 US in your pocket? It's in my blog.
Okay. And if you want more information about what's happening in your area and getting your home ready for the spring market, contact me. I'm Jane Johnston with the Bar Hill Group at Remax Camosun, 250-744-0775. Take care, everybody. Have a great week.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Bye, friend.